Call the meeting to order. Water Quality Management Committee meeting on Thursday, October 18th is in session. First item on the agenda is a review of the committee fact-finding visits to Oak Bluffs, Tisbury, and Hyannis for our press attendee and our nationwide television audience. So who? Well, you didn't go on it.
Well, Matt wasn't able to go.
The rest of it did. But of those who did, and so we kind of describe it for the folks and tell them what we learned.
Let's wait till Ron has a seat.
Okay, come on, pull up a seat, Ron. All right. Steve's coming. Yeah, Steve's coming, but he's not here. So okay, it's yours.
Well,
we were just reviewing for the public our fact-finding trip over to the vineyard.
Steve Layton's the engineer, so I just looked at it as a homeowner. What we were looking at was collection systems, on the vineyards we looked at low pressure collection systems. There are two different kinds of installations in your yard, but all you actually see at the ground level is something more or less the size of a trash can top. And then there's a receptacle down below that either takes everything from the house or grinds it and then passes it on into the low pressure. And so it seemed relatively unobtrusive on the property. And then when we went to Hyannis, we saw a vacuum system. And we talked to the person who operated the vacuum system. And he had a lot of caveats from an operator's point of view, it sounded like that it might be a more problematic technology. So that's the layman's take.
That's the same one they have in Provincetown?
Yes.
Yes, right.
And as you recall, they had problems too.
Right.
Yeah. A cell phone broke the pipe.
There's an air valve that has to operate properly.
Yeah.
And it has to operate properly on every property.
Yeah. For the benefit of the public, when people speak of sewering and collections, there are more than one ways to deal with sewering besides the traditional big pipe in the ground. And this committee has been looking at different places that have installed alternatives to the big pipe in the ground. And one of them was Tisbury, which had what they call a pressure system, a pressure grinder system. It sort of pushes the stuff out and grinds it up on the way. The other was Oak Bluffs, which had a similar system but a different kind. And the third was Hyannis, which, as Virginia was pointing out, had a completely different system, what they call a vacuum system, which operates very much like your home vacuum at your house, when you which is just a constant sucking toward the plant to bring whatever is in the pipe to the plant. So we all paid a visit to those places and got a sense from the operators and the residents of what the pros and the cons of those were.
I think one more thing you should say is that gravity sewers, because they're by gravity, you tend to start shallow and then have to get fairly deep in order to collect a larger area. So that means a very big trench, and it tends to use larger size piping. Whereas these low pressure sewers or the vacuum sewers, you're dealing with PVC pipe, plastic pipe, and you don't have to go as deep. So it's an easier construction operation and therefore faster. And it sounded like it also was better sealed, and I thought that was interesting. That the PVC definitely has less of this infiltration issue.
Anyone else?
To go on with this idea of better seal, I learned that if you put in, I guess, either one of those systems, whether it's a vacuum or a grinder pump system, that you're going to have some trouble connecting new people to the system after you've put it in. It's going to be more difficult to do, more involved in it. And I guess they suggested maybe if you know you're going to connect people, you make arrangements to have that built into the pipe so you don't have to keep cutting the pipe all the time. So that's one thing. I also was interested in their discussion of the way in which they deal with the homeowners. First of all, the ownership of who owns the facility, and so that's one of the issues that they had to decide. And on the vineyard, I guess they both decided that homeowners were not going to own it. The grinder pumps were going to be owned by the town.
And maintained.
And maintained by the town, which it seemed to me to be the right solution myself. But those were two things, and then also just the amount of, it seems to me that the amount of, the number of times per year that you have to go and fix something in the system was probably less, or at least the fixing was less expensive on the whole in the grinder pumps than it was in the vacuum system. That was one of the things that we did learn, that maintenance is probably lower.
Just one other thing is that with the grinder pumps, there was a discussion about that there's a electrical hookup at the household, and that's something that has to be installed. And so there's electrical hookup, and there was some question about to make sure that if the service in the house is limited, it could mean that it could be a kind of a relatively major electrical upgrade that would be needed to support it. And it just depends, again, it'll be house to house, depending on what their service is, how much electricity they use in the house. And that's something that's another factor with particularly the grinder system. With the vacuum system, which seemed to was problematic, as Virginia said, it just has one each line basically has one vacuum pump that is electrically separate. There's no electrical hookup at the house. It's just that there are other issues regarding, I think I was a bit late, but to mention the fact that if there are a lot of people like at one end and there are no people, and there are not people in the winter, in the middle, so to speak, it's a problem for moving the material. You need to have that in the middle. So there are constraints that seem to be pretty localized to Falmouth, because Falmouth has, we do have a seasonal community, and if there's blocks or whatever, and then there's a few people at the end or something, it could be a problem. There are advantages and disadvantages to everything, but it's just something to try and optimize, pick the optimal solution based on the local situation. So.
Steve, thank you for joining us. Steve came from Long Island to be here tonight, so he drove from Long Island to be here tonight.
It's beautiful, it's seasonal, everything's changing color out there. It was a very pleasant journey, particularly when I went over the Westport River.
Particularly when you went over the Cape Cod Canal.
That was even better.
By boat?
Any further comment on our field trips?
I thought it was well worthwhile
Yeah.
to see it.
Definitely. Okay, next one. Scheduling a workshop on the Little Pond Lower Watershed Collection System. This sort of segues into that. The town has contracted with GHD to go ahead with design work on the Little Pond Lower Watershed Collection System and on design work on the Bournes Pond opening and permitting. And both of those, we have put a deadline that we want this information available with dollar figures attached to it by the beginning of the year, so that we can go to town meeting with, and the finance committee and every place else with some knowledge. So they're anxious to have our input and everybody else's input as soon as possible on these things, and they suggested, or we suggested, everybody suggested a workshop with the committee, possibly with some people who live in the area, certainly with the consultant, and maybe some others who can add some knowledge to the mix. Sometime in the next few weeks.
Sooner than that, I would say within the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I think they'll be ready. I was going to give a report when we got to the RFP, but the point is they're spending 4 weeks doing three kinds of evaluations. They're evaluating the capacity of the existing pipes and existing pumping stations. They're evaluating 3 new pumping station locations, and that's the Mara Vista Falmouth Heights area. And they're evaluating collection technologies, and that was the subject of our field trips. And based on that preliminary information, I think they're ready to discuss with the committee where recommendations for how we might proceed, and also input as to if we see any issues. They had provided a timeline with their proposal. And so it was basically 4 weeks of doing that evaluation. So week 5 would be the first week of November, the end of October, first week of November. I don't know if they might be ready sooner, but they would at least be ready by that time. And I think it would have to be different than a meeting. It would, my sense is it needs a couple hours. Maybe
Yeah,
a
at
whole
least. Yeah, we had our workshop earlier with JHD, and it took all of a morning, and it worked into the afternoon too. So let's, in terms of timing, weekdays, Saturdays, what's your pleasure on this
Is
kind
a
of thing?
weekday at all possible? Because several of you work full-time. So that's a real question.
Yeah, that's a threshold question. Could it be a weekday? 2 of you have jobs.
If it was a morning, I would prefer it to be at the beginning or end of the week.
Okay.
Yeah, same with me, like Friday would
Yeah,
actually be better.
one end or the other.
Okay.
You know, middle of the week is
Let's
tough.
say Friday,
Okay.
Friday morning.
Friday morning?
Friday morning, and starting at 8:30?
Sure.
Is that 9?
Sounds civil.
We can do 8:30.
I think we could do 8:30.
Which Friday?
Well, we haven't picked one yet, but let's take a look around.
Well, I brought a calendar. So it'll be either the 26th or the 2nd of November.
Okay, our meeting is the 1st
First.
of November.
Yeah.
Should it be before that or the day after?
Well, it depends partly on whether they're ready.
Right.
So if,
So you thought they'd be ready on the 20th for the 26th?
Well, I have an appointment the morning of the 26th.
okay, so that won't work.
Yeah,
All right, so the 2nd, they're supposed
I'm
to be
fine,
ready by the
Okay,
2nd.
we certainly should be by then.
that's fine with me.
That's the Friday? Everybody happy with
Which
this?
one, which one did you pick?
The 2nd of
November
November.
2nd.
November 2nd. Okay.
8:30.
8:30. We can try to get the rec, or we can try to get the library Herman room.
Yes, we
One
could.
or the other.
Just one point on this, I think that they're going to talk about collection systems, but we still don't have anywhere necessarily to dispose of the wastewater, because if it goes to the plan is to take it to the West Falmouth plant, but we have the environmental impact issues regarding some of the freshwater bodies. Are they looking into that at this point? Because it's critical that that is cleared before we spend much money on developing a system that may not have anywhere to go, basically, in terms of disposal. The Site 7 has issues with Crocker Pond and other things downstream, and the EIA hasn't been done yet. So I think that should be one of the important priorities now. And without that, it's possibly a waste of their time and money, particularly if there is a problem with those sites that can't be cleared. The Cape Cod Commission has identified that as a critical factor in their report as well, of the review, is to review the potential impacts of the disposal. And so if they need to look at that, I think that whatever they're doing now with regard to the watershed collection system, we have to also look at what's going to happen with the wastewater. Otherwise, again, it could be a waste of effort and resources if there is an issue. We don't know yet.
I think their timetable was to wait for the comments to come back, which would be November.
The comments, the certificate from MEPA is due on November 14th. And that basically will have what can be called the scope of work of exactly what kinds of investigation need to be done for Site 7. It's been known all along that there would be additional investigation needed for Site 7. It's not like it's an oversight or a surprise. And the overall plan requires developing collection information at the same time you're working on the plant issue and the disposal issue. I think there's every intention that Site 7 will be made operational.
Right, but my point is that we're spending money now to do something that may not be viable. There may be a problem. And the thing is that if we don't put those things together now and wait until some report later on, it's critical. It's critical. We're dealing with, you know, the town's treasure. And if we have a problem, I don't see why we don't have that as part of a package that they're looking at both ends. We're sort of, as they say, as often as said, putting the cart before the horse. And we need to be sure that everything is lined up and that we know that we can proceed.
Yeah. But when we laid out the schedule, we said we had to get things done by certain times to get things fixed as quickly as we could. And so, yeah, there is some risk here. There is some money being spent. It's likely to be okay, but it could be wrong. We're waiting for the MEPA stuff to come back and figure out whether we can put 50,000, 5,000, 500,000, or whatever number will go into that land. The initial indications are not completely negative. There's some risk, yeah.
Right, no, I know, but what I'm saying is that it should.
So you agree, there is risk.
We agree, there's always risk with everything, right? I mean, nothing is perfect. I'm just saying that as part of this work, that should be a priority. We know it's an issue, and it's not being addressed yet.
Well, I wouldn't say it's
I
not
wouldn't
addressed.
say
No.
that
I
it's
think
not
you said
being
that a couple
addressed.
times,
It's not factual. We're waiting for the MEPA, waiting for the MEPA statement to come back to make the next step.
Okay.
Why would we make a step today if we're going to get a MEPA statement in 2 weeks? It is on the agenda. It is focused. We're waiting for MEPA.
It's more than it's on the agenda. It's part of the contract that was signed with them, was the evaluation
Yeah.
of Site 7.
But does the MEPA statement resolve it?
Tells them what they got to do. To a large extent, it tells them what they got to do.
It says, here are the issues you have to address if you want this site to go forward.
We could turn around and say, this is the scope of everything you want me to start studying today, as fast as you can, for whatever that costs. And then MEPA might come around and say, there's 2 other things they want, and we're doing 2 things they don't need. So we're trying to get some direction from them about what information they want to see.
But once you have that direction, the things you have to do could still, in principle, come up negative.
Absolutely, in principle.
So the risk is not removed at that point.
You got to do the work.
Right, and there are obviously alternatives. If Site 7 were a disaster, you could spend $20 million and pipe it over to the golf course in East Falmouth. We'd rather not.
Right.
I think that was part of the reason
Right.
for focusing on Site 7 was the economics. But it's not, doesn't mean that there would be no site anywhere. It would just mean there'd be some less desirable sites that are more expensive to look at.
Are we discussing whether the workshop on Little Pond collection system is occurring too soon? Are we arguing about that at all?
No,
Because
I
it seems
guess
to me
the
that
concern is that it should have more in it than just the collection.
I'm just saying that we should have they should be looking at this more broadly, because we know basically that there needs to be an environmental impact assessment done at Site 7. That much we know. And that is, and because of the freshwater, surface waters downstream of that site, there could be serious issues. We're still dealing with a human pond. It is a downstream of the wastewater treatment plant on the military reservation. And they have to treat it, I don't know how many times a year to control phosphorus with alum and other things. So we you know, and I know that the neighbors in the area are concerned. And so it seems to me that that this really is important, because as you say, Eric, it's $20 million savings if it works. If it can work technically and environmentally. So we need to know that. That seems to me like just that figure alone is enough of an incentive.
Well, can we say that this firm is the one that's going to be doing this work?
Right.
They could certainly report to us at this workshop as to the status of the work and what their intentions are and what they think we should be proceeding at.
That would be good.
That would be good
for
to
them
have.
on that point. That would be good.
Let's do that.
Not just, yeah,
Okay, so November 2nd, 8:30 in the morning, site to be determined.
How long? 8:30 to noon, or?
Well, 8:30 till we're done.
Okay, okay. Whatever, yeah, okay.
Hopefully noon. Yeah,
Right, because the Herman Room will want to know. That's what I'll say, 8:30 to noon.
yeah.
Is this the sort of meeting that we would invite the T-Ticket Association to, or a representative?
We've looked at some names, and we're going to contact them and ask them to send
Good.
somebody.
Yeah.
Or to, yeah, I think they should be part of the conversation. And the Heights Mara Vista people too.
Yep.
Okay, next.
It's my understanding the purpose of the workshop, one of the primary purposes, is to involve the local neighborhoods.
Well,
It's not just for us.
It's not just for us, but it's to kind of give the engineers a sense of what we have thought of as the directions to go and what we have thought of as directions not to go, and to get feedback from them as to how this works, and also from the neighborhood. But
it'd be a public meeting.
oh yeah, it's a public meeting.
Public meeting.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the time that we chose is not just good for us, but is good for a significant number of people from the neighborhoods, or at least the leaders of the civic association.
We'll do the best we can for as far as inviting them, and they can certainly send somebody who's available in the morning.
Almost no time you choose is ever good.
Well, that's right. Any further conversation on that? Let's move on to the review of the Cape Cod Commission DRI hearing and the follow-up hearing on October 29th. There's a typo on your schedule here. October 29th is the follow-up hearing on that. Somebody from this committee should go there.
It's the 29th, not the 24th?
Yes, yes it is.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes it is.
Anybody free at 10 o'clock on the 29th who'd like to take a trip to Barnstable?
I can go. Okay. Yeah. I can go.
Okay, anybody else?
I'm putting it on my calendar, but I'm not guaranteeing.
Yeah, I know you're,
I could show up at the last minute,
okay.
maybe 3 minutes late.
Okay.
I could go if I had to.
It's in Barnstable?
Yeah. It's at the Cape Cod Commission.
That's at 10 o'clock in the morning, is that
10 in the
correct?
morning
Yeah,
at the commission offices.
right. Oh, that's just over in Barnstable Town. Yeah.
Public comment is being heard. Good morning, good evening.
About this meeting on the 29th, I don't know why they chose to have it in Barnstable, because nobody from Falmouth really will go. It's in the working time, first of all, which is very hard, and then it's not in Falmouth, so it's not going to be in front of Falmouth TV or publicized at all here. So I don't know what good it will do.
We're not suggesting it will do any good at all, but it's something they have scheduled, and basically it was scheduled at your request because
Yeah,
you
that's why I was
felt you
so-
wanted more than 3 minutes to speak,
Yeah.
so it's for you.
Yeah, but then it's so, that's not really the point. The point is to have more than 3 minutes in front of the Falmouth public, not in front of some couple Cape Cod commissioners. It's more than just them.
Well, you'll have to take it up with them, it's their hearing.
Yeah, I just was wondering if there was any discussion about it, why it was there and not.
They don't discuss any of this with us. We
Okay.
were attending it in the same role you were, which is
Okay.
observers and presenters, but it wasn't our hearing. We don't have anything to do with
And
them.
you weren't concerned about the fact that it's not in Falmouth?
We do plenty of public stuff here in Falmouth. If they chose to do it in Falmouth, we'd be happy, but it's not our job to tell them where to hold their hearings.
Okay, because it is for the Falmouth plan, right? So that's why I was concerned. If it was something about the whole Cape, I could see it, but for a Falmouth CWM.
You have to take that up with them. We have no influence on them as far as where they hold their meetings.
Okay.
I think they may televise it though. I think they may
Do they?
record it. I don't know if it plays on our television.
Well, that would be useful if they did that. Yeah. Okay, next item, plan for town meeting and report of the committee on the fertilizer bylaw. We have two things coming up at the town meeting. One is going to be a report of a committee, which they customarily ask committees that have something to report. And I thought we would do a little sort of an abbreviated slide show, kind of like the one we did for the selectmen, but less. And we will have to do something more about the fertilizer bylaw, which went to the selectmen, was unanimously adopted by the selectmen with no changes. In fact, they were critical of you for suggesting there might be changes.
They did approve the changes that we had recommended.
Right, that one. So,
Enforcement officer.
so I'd be inclined to want to send a letter to town meeting members, including the language of the bylaw, and
I think that's a good idea. I mean, everybody gets their warrant, but if you get a letter that has the article on one side and an explanation of its important features on the other side, I think that's an effort worth making. And the other thing that probably needs to be added to this list is that there will be precinct meetings before town meeting.
that's my very next point.
Okay.
We have precinct meetings scheduled for November 1st, November 7th, and November 8th. One of us should be at every one of them.
November 1st and November.
What time is it?
1st is our meeting, so we,
Okay, November 1st at 7 at the CD room, so that's, right.
but that conflicts with our meeting.
Yeah, precinct 1 and 2 meet together, but that is our meeting night.
Right, so maybe we could ask Sia to go on our behalf
To precinct 1?
to precinct 1 and 2?
Absolutely.
You're in precinct 2 anyway, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Well, does anyone, well, you live in precinct 1. Anybody else live in precinct 1 besides Steve? You, okay.
Are precinct 1 and 2 meeting together then in
Yes.
November?
Yes.
Okay.
What are the 3 dates? The 1st, the what, and the?
Right, precinct 1 and 2 meet on the 1st. Precinct 3 meets on the 7th.
Precinct 7's gonna meet on the 7th, too,
Precinct 7, right, also meets on the 7th.
and I'll be at that one.
And 8 and 9 meet together on the 7th, on the 8th, I'm sorry. So, okay, so Matt will go to precinct 7 on the 7th.
Do we meet together?
I don't know, we're meeting in McCoy.
And no one else seems to be meeting in Woquoit except your precinct. Precinct 8 is November 8th at the rec center, 8 and 9. November 8th is a Thursday, not a meeting night for us.
Does it make sense in this letter to suggest that if they have any questions ahead of time, to contact one of us? Because there might be something technical that
Are you
requires
volunteering?
research. Well, I don't know how many.
Yes!
No, that's why I said, does it make sense? I'm not familiar with the process or
As long as they don't call the DPW.
how many calls you would get. I'm just thinking out loud. And
I think it would be a very democratic touch if we put a
Sure.
thing out as a committee, put our names down there, and put our telephone numbers next to our name, and anybody that wants to call us can call us.
And you.
On that article, why not do that?
Precinct.
Send them all of our phone numbers. We're on the committee, they should be able to talk to us.
It's the kind of thing where someone could get up at the meeting and say, well, what about blah, blah, blah? And we go, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. And it might be a very valid point, but if you had 24 hours to look into it, you could give a decent response.
Okay, so committee names and numbers is
And
a
numbers,
good idea?
And you might just list what precinct we're in.
Okay.
That might also.
Okay. So meanwhile, back at November 8th, does anybody live in precinct 8 or 9?
A lot of people do, but nobody on this
Nobody on
committee.
this committee, thank you. All right, anybody want to go to precinct 8 and 9? It's in the rec building on a Thursday night.
I can go.
Well, okay, you want to go to that? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Are you
And then
gonna-
there's 5 and 6 also.
are you going to speak for it or against it?
Is 5 and 6 on the 8th?
Or, you know, I'll explain what it is.
What about 4, 5, and 6?
Okay, Ron gets 8 and 9.
It's getting better now.
Okay.
Shows a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Okay, 4 and 5 are meeting, no, 5 and, what's,
5
5 and 6 are meeting together on Thursday, the 8th.
Right.
Okay, I'll go to that if anybody else doesn't want to.
Trust me, when we get closer, Eric, I can't keep track of these days, I'm writing them down, though.
Okay. Now we have precinct 3 and 4, which are meeting separately, one on Wednesday and one on Thursday, the 1st. Okay.
Thursday the 1st.
Precinct,
I could, well, but that's
That's
our
our
meeting
meeting
night. We just aren't gonna able to.
no.
So 4 is meeting on the 1st and 3 is meeting on the 7th?
4 on the 1st.
The only other way we're able to juggle that is you get in touch with the captain of the precinct and say, I'm assuming Sia, you know, because you're all meeting on the same night, could you please hold this article till the end? And then you go to the other precinct meeting and say, could you please take it out of order so I could go first because I need to get to the other.
And it's Article 7, fertilizer.
It's Article 7.
So it's an early.
Yes, so it would come up early anyway.
So
I-
just, yeah.
Yeah, I
But basically, you'd have to ask some precinct captain to take it out of order and hold it till later, till you got there.
can go on either the 7th or the 8th, so you could put me in where necessary.
Okay, well, the 7th at St. Anthony's, actually, that's sort of, that's sort
That
of,
would be good for you.
yeah, you want to go to that one?
Fine, yeah. St. Anthony's in
St.
East
Anthony's
Falmouth.
Church
Yeah.
Hall, right. Okay,
Take this out.
so that just leaves precinct 4.
Precinct 7 meets on the 7th.
That was November 1st, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
the precinct 4 is November 1st,
Right, and that's on the same, that was a double up on our meeting night, right?
right.
And I thought you said precinct 3 was on the 7th.
Precinct 3 is on the 7th,
Is that the one that meets in St. Anthony?
yes.
Okay,
Oh,
okay. And 7 is meeting in the church?
The Wacoit.
Wacoit.
What,
Conville,
Wacoit Reform?
Church Hall, it says, so.
Well, if it was free. If not, we'll meet in the church.
Okay.
Okay, well, precinct 4 is the only missing one, as far as somebody going to it.
What date was that?
Thursday, November 1st.
So it's a meeting
Oh,
night.
That's.
Yeah,
So,
that is the plan.
That's my proposal, let's see
Oh,
you go to
to Tia do
both.
both, okay.
One early,
I
one
was
late.
just gonna say, would you like me
Okay.
to take that
Well,
night, do both?
Yeah, that
And
makes-
work it out with the precinct.
That,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Right.
Sounds logical.
Okay, so we've got Sia doing precinct 1, 2, and 4. We got Wynn doing precinct 3. We got me doing precinct 5 and 6. We got Matt doing precinct 7. We got Ron doing 8 and 9.
Who's in 5 and 6? You are, okay.
Okay, anybody else want to dive in on any of these others? Well, we've covered them, I guess.
I think everybody's covered.
Yeah. One, if anybody got the Globe today in the Metro section, there was a front page story about how fertilizers and obviously home septics are killing off the salt marshes, and that was based on a piece of scientific work done by the MBL people in Woods Hole, and we may have to send a copy of that around with the article, just to remind them that fertilizer, in fact, the experiment they had was to take a dose of fertilizer and basically drop it on a piece of salt marsh and watch the salt marsh fall apart.
Over 9 years.
Yeah.
It's been a 9-year experiment.
Really?
It'll also be covered in tomorrow's Enterprise. It'll be a big story.
It's interesting because for a long time, wetlands like that were considered a good way of treating, even secondary treatment of wastewater. Us pursuing, and it's, they're saying that it's not working out. At least
Well,
this time.
it's basically that there are limits.
Right.
That if it gets too much, it can't handle it. But the other factor is also sea level rise. Two things playing together there.
Right, and the temperature.
And then, that's right.
Yeah, they can see there are other factors, but
We've been noticing dead areas of marshes in Wacoit and in the marshes east of Wacoit, like
really.
Mashpee River.
Yeah.
Those areas. It's just dead zones about as big as this table. Nobody knew why.
Right.
At the end of Metoxic Point, Larry Wood has been complaining about that at the end of Metoxic Point. There's a dead place developing. He didn't know why. Now we know. Now we know.
See ya.
Would the committee like me to take a stab at writing this letter
No,
to send? Okay.
thanks. We'll do something and pass it around.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it won't be done by committee. But it will be approved by the committee. Thanks. Presentation and discussion of updated website.
Oh, there already, that's fantastic. Well, I am very excited about the website. took Steve's advice and didn't wait for comments, but decided to just get it up so that we're going to have a sort of a dummy copy of it, if you will, that everybody can go and look at and then complain about because they can really see it, or suggest things, I should say. The way the website was structured is sort of simple in the sense that there aren't really templates that you can change one thing in one place and have the entire structure. It was built basically with an old program in a very sort of unelegant way. And because of that, when I change something, as you all have, I made copies of the front page for everybody. When the buttons change, for example, there are 20 or so pages of this website that exist. I need to make 5 more for all of our shellfish and engineering and stuff. And before I do that, I want to make sure that we get the buttons right and this side right, because that's the template. And when I have to change it, I have to change it 20 times. So I'd like to get it right once and then cut and paste 20 times and not have to do it more than once, because I think that would be inefficient. So that's why I did this page. I want to show you the names of the buttons, the style of the buttons. I can't do a drop-down menu. I tried, but the only way to do it is to import the whole program into Dreamweaver, and we're not going to go there. We're trying to work with what we have as efficiently as possible. And so if you guys could just take a minute right now and look at the buttons and tell me if they're okay, I can then cut and paste them 20 times and get the structure of the website up probably in a week or so.
Mr. Chairman?
See.
Hey, thank you. It looks great. Can you have a button that says future expansion or something like that? Because it's not the ones that we think of tonight and say, see, how about a button for blah, blah, blah. It's the ones we don't think of until February.
We can, absolutely. I can do a blank button. I assume that at some point the buttons are going to need to change based on the fact that we don't have this or that going on. But I can certainly put a blank one. The question would be, where would you like it? At the bottom, at the top? Maybe at the bottom? Have a blank one that's going to not have anything.
Under construction.
Art future.
Or you could have a blank one in each of the 3 major sections.
I could.
At the bottom of each. In fact, you have enough blue space to do just about that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Virginia.
I do believe that wastewater engineering and inlet widening should each be a button. I don't, even though we have one contract,
Okay.
each of those has so many pieces to it that they should each have a button.
Yep.
So wastewater engineering and then inlet widening.
Permeable reactive barriers
Yeah.
should be reactive.
Reactive.
Reactive barriers, the only way that would fit
Oh,
is
not-
if I changed the font
Oh, not in the room,
size.
okay.
And that's why I tried to, I didn't want to put PRBs because
Right,
that's.
nobody
No.
knows what that is.
Nobody knows, and so I was trying to find
Okay, I
a
see your problem.
shorter,
Yeah.
without having to change the font size to be smaller than all the other font sizes.
Okay.
May not be possible. When you say we have a page for each one, how much information can you put in that middle section? Can you extend that for a couple of extra? Miles, okay, so you have,
It's the internet, I can just,
okay, it goes as long as you want. So a page can be 30 pages long if you want it.
but it shouldn't be. What
No, it shouldn't be,
is
of
a
course.
page that has other
Yes.
links.
Yes, should be.
What does completed projects mean?
So completed projects is the list of the old needs assessments and New Silver Beach. There were a number of projects that were completed that were actually called what's new on this document. So this report had a what's new, but it was the EIR and the needs assessment and the old comprehensive plan and all that kind of stuff. And there are a couple of content questions that I'm going to have that I was going to try to connect with you and others about.
Well, those now belong in what's old.
That's why they're completed projects,
Got it.
not what's new.
Yeah, well, there is a confusion between completed projects and past reports. I would definitely move CWMP reports up right underneath nitrogen.
Yep, that's a
Problem.
good idea. Yep.
And Mass Estuaries reports, probably.
Well, she has that under Mass Estuaries reports, but MEP is how people relate to it, so I wonder if we could work that in somehow. Mass Estuaries project?
And get rid of the word reports.
Yeah,
Just
right.
change it to MEP reports?
Okay.
No one's gonna know what MEP is, but no one's gonna know what Massachusetts estuary.
I don't know that either.
Pick one. Pick
This is
choose
really
your
old,
question.
I went back, believe me, I mean, what you see here is not like my first,
No, I
we
understand.
scratched our head and thought.
MEP is Mass
Estuaries
Estuary
project.
Project, right.
MEP, right.
And then
we
maybe-
could do MEP reports, but then I was
Say
concerned.
projects, because it.
That say
It'll go
projects
to
and-
reports.
And
Yeah.
what I would hope was that you might be able to then get MEP
You could do
parentheses, but probably
parentheses,
not.
would there be room for that?
Pardon me?
Mass Estuaries project,
Project.
this MEP, is there room?
Well, that section is not for the general reader anyway.
Well,
The people that get into that either already know what MEP reports, or else they will fall asleep, or else they will learn what MEP reports are very quickly.
Well, for those who know, though, they'd like to find it under that name.
Right.
and not under a generic
Right.
name.
So, MA, Estuaries Project, parentheses, MEP if I can fit it.
or maybe that ends up on the page. Yeah,
I may just make the font smaller for 2 buttons.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
Right.
And get the right.
But in the future, if you want to change some of these headings, is this where you have to do the whole thing over again? You can't just put something,
You have to change. So if I change, if we want to say Eco Toilet Project,
yeah.
once I put it on every page of our website, I have to go into every page of the website and cut it and paste the new one in. It's just the way the website was structured. It's very,
Because the only reason I asked that is it says CWMP reports, but we're in the draft stage still. And maybe draft is one of the reports, but,
so
yeah.
that, for that particular thing, this box on the right-hand side is the July report, the draft. And that will link to the most current one.
Do we have
Right.
do we have a box for baseline monitoring?
We did not put a box for baseline monitoring.
This all gets under other things, get filed under reports or projects or solutions. Right?
the baseline monitoring.
Oh, the
is
box
a
called
key
other stuff.
function. So we get a button for baseline monitoring.
We don't have IA systems and, on there either.
That's right. How many boxes are available to you?
Probably a full
Those
one.
empty boxes are getting used up.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean,
Right.
as you can see, this is why I didn't want to go and build the whole thing without really getting everybody's input, because these were the actual ones that I had on the PowerPoint that I sent over. I mean, I didn't change these. So it's good that we're looking through and figuring out that you thought for IA, do we want to call them IA or denitrifying systems?
Denitrifying.
I think
Yeah.
denitrifying is.
Makes more sense, yeah.
Septic systems. if you-
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Could who we are actually be a preamble to, when you open up meeting information? You have two buttons at the top for who we are and meeting information. I figure if somebody clicks on meeting information, they can read who we are.
The meeting information was going to go, based on your comment from a few weeks ago, the meeting information is going directly back to the agenda.
Going back
and that
to the agendas.
page, so
I gotcha.
that the legal,
'Cause I'm just trying to free up some buttons.
yeah, I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a way that if someone's reading through this and they say, something about whatever, shellfish propagation, whatever it might be, and they have a comment, is there a place to put that?
Contact us.
You could combine who we are and
Or
contact us.
There's not like a place where they can write a comment.
Sure.
That would then somehow alert somebody that it's there. Because,
It'll come as there's gonna be two things that will contact us. There's one, an email address that as soon as this thing goes live, I will be checking regularly,
Okay.
3 times a day. And then there's gonna be a phone number.
Can contact us be the top button?
I was thinking who we are / contact us.
Yeah,
And do
First button.
that,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I said, the font's gonna get smaller. So when you guys start saying you can't read it, you'll know why.
yeah, when somebody comes up with a great solution that we haven't thought of yet, and they're trying to get it across to us, like, I don't want them to have to scroll down through the whole thing before they send us some information.
Sure.
So, you know,
He'd like to suggest you getting rid of these things on the, so the same thing repeats itself down here.
Right, you don't need it
I was gonna
twice.
get rid of those, just
That's fair.
FYI.
This is very good, by the way.
Yes,
it is, it's very good.
Attractive.
and what about things that we're not doing? Like solar bees that are doing was it Mashpee or Katuitt?
Yeah.
Or something like that, they're doing these,
You want
Mashpee.
you want a slot for things we aren't doing?
No, I'm just wondering if it's, yeah, it's kind of weird. but-
How about a lot of things we never do?
Things we don't want to talk about.
I'm just trying to think of, yeah, that's an odd one, because we haven't looked into that at all.
No,
that kind of
No,
thing, so-
and there's a whole universe of stuff, financing and
Yeah,
there's a whole universe of stuff that isn't even being talked about yet.
Yeah.
But once this page is made, it has to stay in place for some time, at least a couple of weeks.
That's all.
Well, I'm assuming that under comprehensive planning, or is it that you have to read the preamble to the CWMP report itself? There's an everyday language overall view of what we're doing and why we're doing it, which could include links to why we're not doing certain things. I mean, or what the criteria were for picking these things.
You have a perfectly good point here. What is comprehensive planning?
I should pull it up and read it to you, because I don't remember off the top of my head, but, let's see, as I was looking at it this morning, the comprehensive planning started with the vision statement from the Board of Selectmen, that they had a vision statement for the earlier effort, and there were a number of things on it, which one was, it starts out by saying that controlling nitrogen inputs to our watershed is one of the number one problems facing the quality of life in Falmouth. And then it goes on to say, this is what the Board of Selectmen's vision statement is, and these are the projects that they would like to accomplish to meet those goals. And it follows from that, the history a little bit of the different reports that were done and where we're at right now in the planning process. That's what comprehensive planning says, right now.
So this is past planning, or past,
Past and present.
So what led us to the present?
Leads us to the present, so it basically creates context. I think we'd have, it sounds like a good idea to me. How did we get to where we are now? And it's very hard for people to follow this. It's a saga, Did it start in 2007? Did it start in 2004 with the first MEP study? And then there's a lot going on. So I think you do need some sort of framework, which would theoretically be your first button.
could you call it project history or something? I mean, comprehensive planning is a phrase that doesn't mean much.
Project history,
So if I
but
understand,
it's not backward.
so if I understand correctly the way this works, if you go to the comprehensive planning button and push on that, you'll bring up a sheet, and you could have on there, links to various other documents if they wanted to go in more detail on any one of the things. So you could include a number of things there, and then have links to document. You could include a short statement,
I like that a lot.
and then links to the document that would be longer.
In the short statement, you mention each one of these documents,
That's what it does.
and they can go right to it. So it isn't in front of their face, but they can just bounce over to it.
It has the needs assessment, for example, as a hot link.
Perfect.
It had even a 2001, as I recall, and that's why I'm pulling it up, a 2001 report as additional background information. But it talks about what the documents are. It doesn't just give you a list, it sort of says, it's like I said, I'm gonna pull it up.
The real question is how far back? Because I think 2001 is probably
Ancient
too
history.
far back. That goes down into past reports.
Want to include Mrs. Turkington's article?
Well, that's right.
I was kind of thinking about it, a little sidebar for-
1932?
I haven't read that yet, but it's on my list.
It's in the Book of Falmouth, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna look it up and see, it'd be a kind of interesting sidebar. So, the completed projects and past reports are really where it's more of a laundry list of the documents. If people wanted to be reminded what the 2008 EIR said, or something like, or ENF.
Can you send from one of these pages, when you get on it, can you send them to one of the other pages? Can you reference one of the, can you link to one of the, so if you want, I understand that the comprehensive plan would be more useful to me, I think, if I were out in the public, to know what the current comprehensive plan, the pieces of it were, including financing, including the various other things as they develop. And then send you, if you wanted to know what the past was, you send them to that place where they could look at any one of the past things. Have a very brief description of what they are and then send you to that.
Sure, and that all happens within the structure of the website, but you want it to not get too cyclical.
Yes.
So you have to be careful about, that's easy to do. This middle section can change, will change with each page.
Sure.
What I'm really just trying to do is, and I know, and I've gone through, I see what's happening, which is you can't define a button until you define where you want the button to go. But at the same time, you have to develop the way this website is set up. You have to develop the buttons and then kind of live with them and work with them. So let's just so the comprehensive planning page had the needs assessment report, the alternative screening report, and the ENF from 2007, and then the report itself.
Well, Steve,
And then at the end, it said, see this to download the final report. And so that's, the comprehensive planning was that.
Steve?
note that note the following three things. In the upper right, there's a special box just for going to the current CWMP.
Yes.
The first one under solutions on the left is comprehensive planning, and then further down under background, there's CWMP reports, which I'm guessing is the older ones or something. Or other ones like the Oyster Pond one when it becomes available.
Right.
But you don't want, I mean, that's fine, but you don't want to duplicate things. So in other words, you don't need to use the comprehensive planning under solutions for the CWMP. You've already got real estate for that over in the upper right.
Sure.
And what I think the committee should address tonight is, do you want a place, especially keeping in mind you're coming to town meetings and wanting to get the town to buy into all this, do you want to address the kind of questions that probably all of us get, I know I get, the common sense questions that are a little bit embarrassing, like, well, if this is a comprehensive plan, why doesn't it cover all of Falmouth?
Frequently asked questions?
There you go.
Maybe that's one way of
We
putting it.
we see those on a lot of websites.
Or, hey, Mashpee's doing these solar bees, why don't we do that? Or why don't we do X? Or how much is this going to cost? Or, you know, the
Right?
perfectly understandable, reasonable questions that
Yeah.
come from the man in the street.
Well, you got room for that? See it? See it? Do you have room for one more?
Sure.
Frequently asked
There's
questions.
always
I
room
think
for
that's
another
good.
button.
Yeah.
This is a real-
Right.
There's power on that box in there.
Sorry about that. I just don't want to lose it.
She needs it, I think.
You know, the other thing I try to do with these buttons is have the same, different buttons go to the same place, because I wasn't sure how people would try to find things.
Yeah.
I'll give it a second. So, all right, without taking up the whole meeting, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I
And-
should take a,
Speak into the microphone too. You don't seem to have.
perhaps I should take, let me try and take another stab at,
Bring it to you.
perhaps I should take another stab at the buttons, just based on this comment.
Okay.
And
Send them around.
if I email them around, I'd like to get that, I can't really, I'm kind of,
Yeah. She's got a time problem.
Yeah, we don't want to stop her from getting enough ready for when the water bills go out.
Exactly.
that's exactly right.
Exactly.
That's why,
And the water bills are going out.
first week in November.
Okay, so our next meeting will be the last time we can have any changes made to this. In fact, you want to come in with a finished product and get it done. Okay, everybody good with that? You can send her all the comments you want in the next week, 2 weeks, but
A week.
Week.
I'd really like to finish this
Okay.
next week, so I'd
Okay.
like to give you guys, this has been very useful feedback. Let me
Right.
take it, give
Okay.
it another shot, send it around, and I will give you a drop dead date in the email when I send it.
perfect.
Could you just summarize what you understand the suggestion?
Yes, I'm gonna separate engineering and inlet widening into 2 buttons.
Okay.
I'm gonna add baseline monitoring. I'm gonna add denitrifying septic systems. I'm going to try to get the mass estuaries project and permeable reactive barriers to fit on the whole button. I'm gonna combine contact us with who we are into 1 button, and I'm gonna add blanks on the bottom of each section.
And
And I'm gonna add frequently asked questions.
Right, okay,
Great.
okay.
Is there, one more question. Is there a place in there where you can ask, you can put in a request, look up this particular thing, or
Search button,
what?
a search
A
button.
search button. Is there a search button on this?
There's not a search button.
We don't have a search
We
button.
do not have a search button.
All right. Do we have, can we have one that is, what do they call it? Site plan? Do they have one, is there a button that could be called site plan, where you could have the site plan listed? the
Oh, an
whole-
index?
Yeah, an index of the whole thing, or a site plan of where you find things, or?
You could if I set up the website that way. The structure of this website is not developed
I
that
see.
way.
I see.
Somebody, whoever did it, used homepage for every single page.
I see.
It's, to do it that way and to have the search, I'd have to import it all into Dreamweaver or another program, and we just made
We
the
just haven't
executive
done it, okay.
decision that that's not what I was
Yeah.
gonna spend
Okay.
the time on.
If you keep it nice and simple like this, you don't need a site plan.
Yeah.
Or a search engine. So these buttons are really very important to not even needing a search engine, so.
Yeah, I think this is terrific.
I think if you search for something on Google or something, you would come to whatever, right?
One would hope.
One would hope.
And the other thing I am going to do, after hopefully a conversation with either Virginia or Eric, because of your historical sense of this whole thing, is to look at things like completed projects and past reports and maybe combine them. But I would love to just be able to have a chance to review the content as they exist with those, and then maybe just find out what you think ought to be there.
Sure.
And that would be really
How
helpful.
those things work.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, you could say,
But they
if
find a
you
lot of
need
stuff.
more real estate in that left-hand column, a whole bunch of the ones under background could be a single button, past reports. And then when you go there on that page, is your effectively your drop-down menu of all the different kinds of past reports. And then you can change that to your heart's content in the future without messing up the main.
Just call it past reports, combine all those 3, completed projects, past reports, and CWMP reports into one thing, past reports.
That's good.
I think we should do that. I think that's an excellent idea.
Sorry.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, we do.
Take it and run. All right, thank you very much. Great job.
And I do have to say that George Trudeau at the IT department was instrumental in making this happen and helping me set up so that I could do this editing. He is fantastic.
It's been helpful.
Good, good. All right, next item, report on the status of the RFPs. So, engineering and inlet opening, Virginia.
I gave the engineering already when we were talking about the scheduling the workshop. On inlet widening, kickoff meeting has been held with the staff, Ray Jack and Jerry Thomas. Eric and I were there. Nate Weeks is the project manager, but most of the work is being done by two subcontractors. They are John Ramsey, from whom you have met before, Applied Coastal Research Engineering, and Mark Hirschman, who is from an engineering company called Beta, capital B-E-T-A, all capitals. They build roads and bridges. Their focus for the work that they're doing in October is John Ramsey is out collecting more bathymetry information. It turns out all of the modeling that has been done for Bourne's Pond was based on information that was gathered by the pond watchers in 2004 and 2005. So it was not gathered by a company, and it was gathered by volunteers, and it's quite old. So he was confirming the bathymetry both in and outside the inlet. And then he will do modeling runs. He is looking to, his words were, to optimize the flow through the inlet. You want a flow that is at least 3 feet per second, 3 feet per second on the incoming tide in order to not have deposition of sand. They're going to look at 4 different structural concepts, and they are a 2-span bridge. We now have a 1-span bridge, so there would be a second span added, and what is now sort of the abutment and the stonework for the inlet, that becomes a footing, and then there is a new edge of the inlet. A 1-span bridge, which means removing the existing bridge and just one bridge. It's not necessarily double what 2 spans might be, so these are all modeling alternatives. The third is to keep the existing bridge but install culverts on one or both sides of it. And then the fourth alternative is to actually have just culverts. The issue here is that as the water passes through the channel, there is friction. And what they're trying to design is what's the widest and the given depth of, obviously, the pond and outside. What configuration of widest with depths will achieve this rate of flow, at least 3 feet per second? And so different structures generate different kinds of friction. And so that's why they're looking at this range, I would say, of options. The engineers made it very clear, I would call it a caveat, that bridges are stronger than culverts. If you have a very major storm, a culvert can be washed out or in. A bridge is more secure. Once their analysis is ready, then they'll be ready to make a presentation and have a discussion.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, oh sure, Matt.
Question, do they know what the flow is now?
Oh, it's good. They did not give me the number, but I went and looked at the bridge, and it's flowing very nicely. There's no problem with the existing flow. The question is, can you get a greater, what they call tidal prism? Can you actually get more water in and out than we have now? And what will it cost to do that? I can certainly forward that question.
No, it's just
He will probably measure that when he's out doing the bathymetry.
And they understand our issue is cost versus nitrogen being removed, and what's the cost benefit of each of these, so that'll be the conversation.
I'm just wondering, in terms of risk analysis, you say bridges are better because they're stronger.
Well, it was basically, they're saying structurally, we want you to know that a bridge is stronger than a culvert in case of a storm.
Right, no, what I'm saying is that...
But they didn't use the word better. They just said that the bridges are more permanent.
More permanent, okay. I'm just thinking, like, the 1938 hurricane, we see those pictures of Falmouth Heights and everything.
Yeah.
Things are gone.
Things are gone.
Basically. So I'm just wondering, though, if you built a culvert for $10,000 or a bridge for $10 million, what is the risk analysis? I don't know.
They have to do a life cycle cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is that kind of analysis been done? Because if you just go in and then work on projects where you just build things that are gonna disappear and then rebuild them because it's quickly and less costly.
Virginia, does he plan to present it to us in terms of life cycle costs?
I don't know. I'm writing these questions
All right,
down.
we'll ask,
I mean,
we'll ask him
Ron's
to do
point
that.
is completely valid.
Yeah,
A cheap
it
thing
is.
that you replace every 10 years might or might not be better than an
Right.
expensive thing that you replace every 100
Yeah,
years.
good question. Okay, aquaculture. The Woods Hole Group was the town's choice, and actually the fellow who's working with them was in town today, and I emailed both of you to see if you were possibly available this afternoon. He showed up at 1:30, and I think I emailed you. I heard about it at 1, so you,
Okay. Oh, yeah. No, I
you'll
don't-
be
I
forgiven for not showing up.
Yeah, no, I would have come. It was a sad day today because we were very sad. We took our boat out.
One of us very cooperative.
Especially since I became in the water, so.
I think the pattern is going to be a member of this committee will be a contact person to deal with each of these separate things. And you, Steve, and you, Ron, were the, pretty much, you three were the subcommittee
Right.
on this. Do you have any preference as to which one of you would want to be the one to deal with them on this topic?
I'm happy to do it.
Okay, you okay with that?
Yeah,
Being here is a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's okay
I'm
with you?
perfectly fine, I mean,
Right, it doesn't mean you get off the hook.
Put me out, again, let me know if you're gonna sit down and meet and talk about scope or approach, and I'm around, I'll stick my nose in.
Okay.
On that though, can we get a copy of their proposal?
Well,
yeah.
that's important for all these RFPs. Once
I mean,
once we've
I-
awarded it, to
Absolutely.
make sure we have in hand
I
a copy
I
of
turned mine back
the
in. so.
proposal. I know the
I
people
never
who
saw it,
reviewed
yeah.
them did.
No, I'm sorry, I turned mine back in.
The
They have-
people who are
they
going to
have
work with
copies.
them need them too.
Oh, okay.
And I need them too. Just
One for everybody now.
no, but one for the chairman, one for the person who's working with that committee.
Well, it's public information, right?
Well, it is, but
We need copies.
So,
we
no,
don't-
but I mean, you could put it on the web?
it's not, it's printed. I don't know that they have it on disc or anything.
Yeah, typically you.
It was not delivered on disk, I mean, you could scan anything, but right now, let's just make sure it gets to the hands, and I think it's a good comment about over time, as we
Right.
create various documents, whether they be scopes of work, or, reports from consultants or whatever,
Put 'em on.
having them flow in a format that they can make it to the webpage, right?
Right.
How long is this thing? I mean, it's something scanning is kind of a nightmare, but I can do that.
You could,
Well, we'll get you a copy,
They-
and you
okay,
can
I'll look
think
at it.
about that.
Okay.
We, yeah, and we did meet with them today, and the idea of them coming to perhaps our next meeting and inviting the shellfish folks in the community who have an interest to participate in that conversation, is that?
Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, I think I was hearing this a little bit on the engineering, I mean, there's what I call the needs and issues. At some point, very early on, you convey what we need and what we think the issues are, make sure that what they're doing is what we
Right.
expect to see.
And they should hear, I mean, clearly the community has a variety of opinions on this, and they should hear that.
Right.
So we'll try to get them here for the next meeting.
Yes, and they're also very important in terms of settling on the baseline monitoring for Little Pond, which is the SMAS scope. That scope is not finalized until the aquaculture company and consultant, which is Woods Hole Group, weighs in. And there was early on discussion about whether SMAS had proposed too much sampling or too many sampling stations, and so we really need another viewpoint. And so I don't know whether that's a discussion at the next meeting, but I just want to say that I don't want that
Right.
lost.
Today's conversation was a little bit about that. They want to go out and do a survey of the existing shellfish resources in different
Right.
parts of the pond. And I think
Okay.
from that, they'll have more knowledge about where the
Yeah.
sites should
One
be.
of
to
the
monitor.
tasks was, I think, to do some sort of form of standing crop assessment. At
That
some point, you
was-
gotta go out and start seeing what's there, and just like you were saying, doing the bathymetry,
Yes.
you make sure that you know where you're starting from.
And they're doing that within the
There you
next 2
go.
weeks, so that's That's now.
Yeah, well, it's cold. and
Yeah, well, it's still tolerable.
Cold work at this time of year, yes.
Well, wet suit or dry suit.
Right, that's about it for the act.
So will they be at the next meeting?
We'll invite them,
Yeah.
yes.
And if I can, I mean, I think exactly what you sort of said, Virginia, is the sort of things we want to make sure that when we talk to anybody about needs and issues in the very first meetings with them, that stuff like that gets there and make sure they understand that there's this interface going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, the next one's the PRBs. The bids came in, there were 5 companies that submitted. It's been winnowed down to 3. There's going to be interviews with them later on in the month. And with some luck, we should have a choice by the end of the month of who's going to do the PRB work. Echo toilets.
We learned in the process of the summer and the fall that the original RFP, which we wrote, needed to be altered. And that we've done a lot of the work for tasks 1 and 2, and that tasks 3 and 4 look a little different to us now than they did originally. And we are in the process now of rewriting the RFP, and we'll bring, I hope we will be able to bring a copy of the RFP for people to look at in 2 weeks. I hope that that's the case. Our aim now is to have it so that it could go out so that the winner of the RFP could start work in early February, if that's possible. So we need to get going on it. We hope that we can get it written and ready to be looked at by this committee by the next meeting.
Right.
Well, the important part of the work is going on now. You're actually getting to the point of going to people's houses and evaluating
That's right.
the prospects of whether or not this would work. And Sia has become a plumbing expert, among other things.
On 7, when we get there, I'd like to see a report on what she's been doing and
Okay, we'll save that.
and present the little thing, the information that we worked up the other day.
We'll save that for number 7. Waste to pond CWMP.
Well, I think the war of words between myself and Jerry has ended, and
Don't count on it.
Jerry's actually picked dates. I don't know if I'm allowed to, if those are public.
Yes, yeah.
Those are public? That copies will be available on October 30th, a pre-meeting on November 7th, and the proposals will be due on November 29th. And basically this afternoon in a series of emails, I'm pretty sure that Jerry and I came to an agreement. I mean, we're down to pretty minor points. And, but, you know, it's not over till it's over, till I see it in writing. I was happy with what he had.
Good.
It seemed to me that Jerry actually wrote a paragraph that was going to get incorporated into the
Right.
specific scope. And you thought it would
It's fine with me,
adequately,
yeah.
and it was fine with you, and that's what's going to go in, cut and paste. I mean, that's the
Right.
language, so. It's just to add, the Central Register publication is for the 23rd.
Great. Baseline monitoring RFP. Sia has been backing and forthing on that for a while, but we seem to have,
But you skipped our road runoff.
well, there's nothing to report.
There you go.
I just listed them all, but
Oh, okay.
that one has nothing to report at this point.
Is it being worked on by?
It didn't rain this month.
That's right, has not been a problem.
I can add something to that.
Yes, please do.
It's a question of how many requests for proposals Jerry can handle at once. And so he put it at the bottom of the list, and nobody disagreed. It's really all these other things are more important. So I think it's after the first of the year before we see something on stormwater.
Right.
That's my gut.
Okay, and I'm just wondering on that though, is it being worked on basically? In other words, not necessarily the formatting, the technical specifications or whatever it may be that would be in there. Is that something that somebody, like with the other ones, we had teams that worked on the technical specifications and then they were turned into an RFP format.
Right.
do we have that part going on now, or?
I would say the answer is no and yes. Okay. No, there's nobody from this committee at this point working on a scope of work for stormwater, and I know Jerry's not working on it. However, Mr. McConerty, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his first name. Peter is working on, it's called an MPDES general permit for the entire town.
Phase 2.
So obviously, the watershed for Little Pond is part of that. So in a sense, information relative to this RFP is being collected at what pace, I don't know. So it's not that nothing is being done in stormwater, but those pieces, what's required, the new standards that are required by the state, federal, and what Peter has already done need to be folded into what this scope of work might look like.
Okay, is he working on anything to do with nitrogen or nutrients? Or is he just looking at water management,
No,
flooding?
it's regarding nutrients
It is,
as
okay.
well as.
Series of other pollutants, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and there is a deadline for each town to get that in.
Yeah.
So,
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
The standards now for stormwater discharge statewide are much higher than they used to be, and that's all to the good for what we're working on.
And I did ask Jerry to send me a scope for the stormwater. We talked about it yesterday, and he actually said that he thought he had one that he would be sending me.
Not to use the pun, would there be any spillover to ocean outfall concept? If you've got more stringent things going with wastewater.
You may get to be on the subcommittee.
Okay.
Discussion and vote on baseline monitoring RFP.
We had discussed at the last meeting that it was not clear what we were paying for. And so I clarified with SMAST that we are paying for analysis and synthesis and not data collection. Virginia sent out a terrific email that sort of charted out the three things that the committee was looking at. There's collection, there's analysis, and then there's synthesis of the data, where collection is obviously you're out collecting. Analysis is when you take all that collection and you put it into you assemble that data. And then the synthesis is when you analyze the compiled data and produce the report. And so the clarification from SMAST was that for task 1A and task 1B, we are paying for analysis and synthesis of the extra stations that were sampled as part of the summer of 2012. We are not paying for the collection, and we are not paying for the analysis of samples that were collected as part of Pond Watch. That total is $18,400, and it says analytical cost now and not monitoring, because that was where the confusion came from. So we are paying not for Pond Watchers collection or analysis or synthesis, but we are paying for the additional samples. And that's what task 1A is. Task 1B was also that we are not paying for the collection, but we are paying for the analysis and synthesis of all the sampling stations. As Virginia mentioned, we have not finalized the number of additional stations. That's going to be based on conversations with the Woods Hole Group and also with the regulators to make sure that we've got a sampling station layout that is appropriate. So in addition to that, there is the analysis and synthesis of the historic data, and that was task 2.
Yeah.
And so my recommendation would be that we approve, the committee votes to approve $75,327 as a not to exceed number, so that if we reduce the number of stations that will be sampled, that number will go down accordingly.
Any questions or comments? Ron?
No, I just found that there was only one word changed 4 times, which was good in the report. Okay, that's all that between this time and last time. The only thing I'm just asking is just your last point, I guess not to exceed, basically covers that because it could be reduced, but it says the final number of stations and events to be sampled beyond what is undertaken through Falmouth program will be determined and mutually agreed. But then we thought, well, maybe it would be, there could be fewer.
And that
Right.
should have made it into
It did, it's on page 6.
page
Oh,
5
page-
or 6, I can't remember which.
Page 6?
In the most recent iteration.
It's page 5, it's the top paragraph.
It is, yeah. page
Yeah,
Final number of stations and events.
to be sampled, then it is beyond what? That's what, that was in the previous one. Or did it say not the
No,
final?
The final number of stations and events to be sampled,
Yeah.
will be determined and mutually agreed to by the town and the Coastal Systems Program after consultation with the shellfish consultant, which is Woods Hole
Yeah,
Group
yeah,
now,
yeah.
and appropriate regulatory and permitting parties.
So beyond what is undertaken is out
Be-
now?
No, the pond watch, the
Yeah.
beyond part relates to the pond watch. The pond watch does 4 stations every year, and
Right.
it does 4 sampling events, 2 weeks apart in July and August. And it takes 2 samples at each station, one near the surface and one near the bottom. So beyond that core, which will continue,
Mm-hmm,
they are proposing extra sites.
mm-hmm.
They're proposing more time, so it starts in May, goes to
Right.
October. Okay, so
Okay.
all of that's up for discussion. Should it go May to October? Should it be 5 more sites in addition to the 4 that are already there? My sense is that they've maxed it, and the question is, do we bring that down?
Okay.
Any other comments? Steve?
I think Virginia just answered the question I was going to ask, but just to make absolutely sure. Sometimes not to exceed means the vendor guarantees they won't go over that. They might go under it if they want to be nice guys and impress the customer with how nice they are, but it's entirely their prerogative to go up to the not to exceed amount. But what I hear Virginia saying is that it's the customer, our prerogative, to keep them a finite amount below the not to exceed limit, right?
That's correct.
Well, there was a unit price, as I recall,
Yeah,
per
it's a-
station.
it's
So if that
1,000.
went out, that
Unit
would,
price.
yeah, it was the unit price.
So once you agree on the number of stations and the number of samples, we'll know what it's gonna cost before they do anything.
Right.
Right, and we'll come back.
Right,
Yeah.
if we order less at this restaurant, we won't pay as much at the end of the meal.
Unless it's a party bigger than 6.
Okay, any further discussion on this one? This does require a vote. So having,
Yeah, make a motion.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
You got it.
And my job is to make this contract happen yesterday.
Right.
Good. Yeah, they're right.
Well, considering, yeah.
Well, because we have some very tight deadlines for their work.
Right.
I'm going to do the best I can.
Okay, reports of members and staff. We can come back to this one and see if there's any at the end, but there were a few listed in here that people who contacted me during the week who had a particular point they wanted to raise, and one was Matt. Town meeting proposed motion on eco toilet exemption from future betterments. We're
Right
speaking.
at the last meeting, I don't know if you were here, I gave out copies, I didn't even bring my copy.
I have one.
I won't.
Okay, well,
I'm
Jill, let me just explain it to you, and what my idea is I would propose amending the existing article that was submitted and replace it with this one, or something like this. And the concept is just asking WQMC to endorse the idea and leave it to us and town council to figure out how to do it if it is possible. Because it is, there are some questions, and I admit to them, after speaking with Frank Duffy, and rather than try to hammer something through in town meeting, I think it would be better if 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 we do agree to the concept and get town meeting to endorse it, and then come back with a revised article in the spring.
Comment?
My understanding, I'm supportive of what you've just said. My understanding from town council, and I may not have seen all of the explanation, was that the concept was premature, that there were several things that had to take place first.
The CWMP hasn't been written. I was aware of that, but I thought maybe, if it didn't exist, you could do it.
Right.
There's also an article on the books, or a bylaw on the books that says if a sewer line runs by your house, you have to connect. So
Right.
there would have to be some exemption or
It contradicts that.
amendment to that included in the new spring article.
Okay.
So this is just trying to gauge town meeting's approval of the concept, and it would be great if the WQMC endorsed the concept, which essentially, just for the folks at home, for our viewing audiences, to exempt people who join in our eco toilet demonstration project from having to then revert back to sewers if the sewer does run by their house in the future, if they choose to stay with the eco toilet, and it's optional for them. But the idea was to encourage them to take away that other obstacle that they may foresee down the road. Oh, if I spend $10,000 or $15,000 on putting eco toilets in my house, you mean in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, I may have to pull them out and connect to the sewer, which is another big retrofit. Because if you put in a composting toilet, you're basically taking out
Right.
a lot of the waste pipe.
Okay, comment? Steve?
I support this. The last time that Matt brought it up, I think I spoke against it, but it was only that there are a number of details that have to be worked out before it was actually implemented. And I think Matt finessed that with this rewriting of it. And I mean, if the purpose of eco toilets for the individual isn't to avoid the cost of sewers, I don't know what the purpose is. And well, no, I shouldn't say that. He'll look at after. There are plenty of other reasons too.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine.
Strike that.
But I
She'd be
can't.
happy to tell you.
I can't imagine that it just seems the only fair thing to do to let them out of that cost. But and this allows us to work on the details later.
And then we could also amend the CWMP. That would be in existence, by hopefully.
One point that Jerry raised is but suppose somebody puts an eco toilet in, the sewer goes by their house, they don't hook up when the sewer goes by their house. A couple of years later, somebody else buys the house, doesn't want the eco toilets, wants to hook up to the sewer. There's no provision currently, no way to charge them for that.
Yeah, I remember hearing him say that, but that must happen with,
Well, that's in the category of details that could shoot it down later.
But build-out would have that same issue, right?
yeah. I gotta think that there might be a vacant lot on the street that,
When the vacant, well, that's
Oh, the
what
vacant lots
happens.
will be charged.
They get charged.
Oh, yeah.
added on
Yeah,
the
you,
tax.
even if you don't have a house on the lot, you get
That's
to
right.
Pay a betterment?
Yeah.
When,
So-
at the time that you develop the lot, you pay the betterment.
That's the way it's set up now.
I gotta think that a provision could be added that would correct for that, and somebody would pay a higher rate for the remaining years of the betterment.
Or it could go away like when people get like an agricultural or a conservation land trust on their property. If somebody does this, they have to put on their deed that they will not connect to the sewer or whatever the, I mean, I shouldn't say that, whatever the structure is, it sounds like it has to attach to the deed at that point. You know, I mean, it's a sort of a deed restriction in some ways. It could be a deed improvement if you want to think of it that way, but it's,
Or if they choose to connect, they pay a penalty, you know. They
yeah,
pay-
the mechanism for doing that's kind of tricky right now.
It might require a change in state law, according to Jerry, he's not here
Well,
today.
it's a detail that needs to be worked through.
Well,
Right.
Jerry thought the whole thing wasn't in state law anyway, so.
Well, sometimes he's right about some things.
I'd just like to reiterate the reasons I have for supporting this. Basically, they come down from a discussion I had with George Heufelder, that the people who are going first of all, they're going into, by doing this, by spending the money now, they're doing something, they're going out on a limb in a sense, in many ways. They're putting something in that it's a new technology. They can't be absolutely certain it's going to be absolutely satisfactory to them. They're going out on a limb by spending money now, and that should be recognized as a valuable thing for the town. And that's a good reason for doing this. And the other thing is, of course, it will add to the attractiveness of getting people into the project at a time when we have only a certain amount of money which we can give them as subsidy. And that will make it more possible to get more people into the project more quickly and make it work better. So for those reasons, I'm
Sure, Virginia, and then Walt.
I'm following on what Wynn said, that this particular article, and proposal and concept, is targeting the first 62 families that are to hook up to the eco-toilet demonstration project.
Yes.
So this is, I mean, they can live anywhere in the town, but the magic number is 62. And that seems like a reasonable incentive to me. There is one matter of wording, Matt. Your proposed amendment reads, town meeting members direct the Board of Selectmen, acting through the Water Quality Management Committee, to pursue exemptions. You can't use the word direct.
No, I was going to say
You
the
have,
same
it
thing.
has to say request. You can't direct the selectmen.
Right.
Can try.
Well, you might as well deal with that issue now so that they submit it, because it'll be the first thing they'll.
Yeah, there's no point
Well said.
in raising hackles
Right.
deliberately.
Well, I'll make sure Frank Duffy looks at this one.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, that would be key. I think
yes.
to me, I mean, I'd go along with it, provided that Frank Duffy went along with the ultimate language. And the principle of the thing we get.
Right.
But we don't want to put language out there that makes us look like we're supporting something that he says is illegal. So let's get an approval from him.
Virginia just made me think of something else in the wording here. For Falmouth residents that volunteer to enter, the intent, what you mean is that successfully volunteer.
Well, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
Well,
Residents that participate in the
that
eco-toilet.
participate in the program.
Okay.
You're going to get a lot of people who want, after they look at the details.
Yeah, you've got 72 who volunteered so far. You may not have 72 at the end.
Virginia, can you make those changes?
Yeah.
Rewards are only payable upon conviction.
I think this is very important, really. If we look at it from the comprehensive view and the way we're moving ahead with the vision at this point for the dealing with this particular part of town, because it's critical that we get some information on this and that we need the incentives in the right place to do that. I think that's really the spirit of it. I mean, if we look at the plan right now, and if we look at the state laws and guidance, and maybe you can help with this, Steve, is that, you know, there's a chapter 44 of the general laws indicates that the useful life of a sewer system is 30 years. And if in our plan, if we're building a system now, we start and have something done by 2020 as envisioned, that by 2060, it may need to be rebuilt. By that time, we will not even completed the full area that needs to be done just for those households in that coastal area. So working toward this and moving toward greater responsibility at the household level, and then removing that to an extent, it's like the septic systems today, from the municipal, using municipal resources in what appears to be, what would be, a perpetual civil works project. And that if the 30-year useful life is roughly what you can expect, and then you'll have to start rebuilding and upgrading and doing things at that time, then we're getting into something for a town of the nature that we have that seems like this kind of incentive with this particular article, I think, gives a sense of moving toward a direction that brings it more toward the homeowner's responsibility, as well as the other benefits of water conservation and nutrient recovery if possible. But this is something, in looking at the planning and thinking about that 30-year figure is really something that I don't think people are so aware of, and why it states that.
I sense there may be some rebuttal to that remark.
Steve
in Virginia.
Yeah.
First off, it's the analogy I'm going to give is this. If you want to buy a house, when you go to the bank, they're going to give you a mortgage for 30 years, or 25 or 20 or 15. Your house is not going to be gone in 30 years. They put sewers in back in the 1800s. They've been in the ground 130, 140, 150 years. At some point along the way, with financing and people called Moody's and bond ratings and good faith and credit and debt of the Commonwealth, they get paragraphs in there that say things like useful life is 30 years. So when people borrow the money, the expectation is that they're not borrowing money to build something that will be gone at the end of 30 years. Okay, so the leap from the way the law is written saying the useful life is 30 years, which allows certain financing mechanisms to occur, to a belief or a statement that anything built now will be replaced in 30 years is a big leap, since it doesn't, based in actual fact of how sewers and manholes and other things have been in the ground for the last 130 or 140 years.
Virginia.
Yeah, Ron, I understand your main point is you see this as encouragement for people to use eco toilets, and I support that. But I have heard you say these words several times, and I'm beginning to get a little concerned because it may ultimately be seen as, that it's absolutely correct, and it doesn't strike me that it is. There are several things that you say that I have some concerns with. One is that the collection system will only last 30 years. I just don't believe that is correct, and I think we can ask the engineers for the low pressure systems that we're installing, what do they think the actual life is. I agree with Steve that for financing reasons, things are often said to be 30 years or 50 years and so on. But I don't think that that's factually true. And in the case of the collection system that was put in 1985, 84, when I was Commissioner of Public Works, that 30 years is tomorrow, next week, then next year. So we, and we're nowhere, we're not digging up Surf Drive, and we're not digging up Main Street and so on. So I don't think that to say that pipes that have been installed to collect wastewater will only last 30 years. That's my first point. My second is that you keep alluding to the fact that we're not going to get to the east part of Falmouth for 50 years, and this is a perpetual DPW project. The town of Falmouth has 15 estuaries. We have more estuaries than any other town on the Cape. So we do have a huge task in front of us to take care of. But the fact that we're starting with all the demonstration projects now and sewering just of Little Pond doesn't mean that the other parts of town aren't going to get attention. And so I think you will see things in East Falmouth, whether it turns out to be permeable reactive barriers or cluster systems, whether we start saying to the Walk Point area there should be innovative alternative systems out there. I don't think you should be broadcasting to the town of Falmouth that this committee's focus is just, very small, because it isn't. I also believe that DEP is not going to let us wait 50 years. Between what happens at the state level and the regulatory level, pressures are going to be put on the town to move ahead. What we're trying to do is to move ahead smartly, and that's why all these demonstrations are so important.
Win.
Just speaking as an economist, I think there's a one thing which you need to take into account always when you're looking at a figure like 30 years. I think you're right, it has to do with, I think Steve is right, it has to do with funding and so forth. It also has to do, I think, with the economic life of projects, the technical life of projects, and the repair costs of projects. That when you go beyond 30 years, you start getting repair and maintenance costs, which get higher and higher as time goes on, and you start thinking about rebuilding at that time. I think that happens. It's going to happen anyway. It's going to happen whether you have eco-toilets or whether you have IA systems or whether you have sewers. I think we should keep in mind as we go forward that different types of solutions to problems like these that we have will have different degrees of ability to manage repair costs and renewal costs after a 30-year period, or after a 20-year period, whatever period you choose. And that we should look at that as one of the things we look at when we are choosing what we want to do, is how easy and manageable is it to renew things as they get older. And so I don't know the answer to that, but I think that's one of the things we need to take into account.
Should be part of the life cycle cost.
Should be part of the life cycle cost.
Yeah, I'm just saying, all I know is what it says, useful life, that's what it says in here. And I don't know if that's just planning purposes, or it may be less, it may be longer. Well, as you say, it could be much longer than that. But this is, as Wynn has indicated, you start getting to repairs. We've already started the surf, we have that big repair on Surf Drive. We've got odor things that are still pending. We have things coming up that are building, and they're not small price tags, these things, basically.
And new technology.
And even the plant itself had, what was it, a $15 million upgrade? Because of the design wasn't up to standard, so it had to be, these things start, and I think maybe that's what, maybe it's envisioning 30 years from now, technology may change, things happen. We could get a big storm. I don't know how that would affect some of this, but these are just factors that that is. So what I'm getting to though is that's why I think this is important, is that we need to look at, really encourage to get this defined.
All right, well said. And right,
Okay.
counterpoint, well said as well. So we're good. What's next here?
So.
Oh, you want to vote? Okay, let's get a motion out, which is
I'll move that we accept this wording as
With-
amended.
Okay.
I'd like to
As
second
amended,
that.
town meeting members request the Board of Selectmen, acting through the WQMC, to pursue exemptions from future sewer connection fees for Falmouth residents that participate in the town's eco-toilet demonstration project as part of the CWMP under the authority granted by Mass General Laws, Chapter 83, Section 1B.
Can we add subject to approval of town council? I think we talked about that.
Okay,
I'd like to second that.
with
Okay.
review from town council.
Okay, that's motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? You want to vote for it? All in favor? Yeah. Aye.
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 Great,
You got it.
thank you.
Wynn has a work plan. Oh, Wynn has Silent Spring Research to talk about, and Chip Osborne, and a work plan.
First of all, did we miss something that we should have been discussing earlier when we have these copies of the promissory note, the Falmouth standard installation contract, and the contract for subsidy? Do we have to do any further voting, or is this merely for information?
Information. You're done. It's
Good, we're done.
You.
Good.
Done.
So the next thing is to take this to be, does that have to be now approved by the selectmen?
Yes.
Do you know when that's on the list?
Since the committee's happy with it, it'll get on the list tomorrow.
Okay. Any problems with this?
Not a bit.
No.
Great, wonderful. Then I'd like to go and just, I have copies, if other people didn't pull it off there. We sent around copies of the Eco-Toilet Incentive Program work plan for the technical liaison. I have copies if people don't have that.
I have it, I'm okay.
I could use a copy.
One,
Okay, but I can get home.
two,
I didn't get home.
I like this one. If you printed it, I'll.
Well, he's got copies, we're gonna
need a
have.
copy too?
Here we go.
Yeah, if you printed it, I'd like a copy, since, you know,
He's printed it.
yeah, I think otherwise it's a waste of paper.
I'm good, we were good with that, yeah, thanks.
I'd like to say,
One side of each page, too.
I'd like to say a couple of words
Definitely a waste of paper.
about
This printer may be limited.
what SIA has been able to accomplish, and also what the Eco-Toilet Center in conjunction with us has been able to accomplish in the last few weeks. It's been a joint effort of SIA and the Eco-Toilet Center and all of us working together with SIA to get this program going. It's actually going. And I'd like to, if SIA, could you just give a review of what's going on right now?
We had a list that had been compiled from the meetings that the Eco-Toilet Center had approximately 70 people on that list, have contacted almost all of them, and have had approximately, and these are I had written these numbers down, so this is off the top of my head, approximately 25 site visits, and about 10 more scheduled for next Wednesday. So about half of the people on the list were interested in going to the step of having a site visit. From there will be formal price quotes from vendors given to homeowners. And at that point, I will expect people to contact us about wanting to participate in the program, and we'll go through, now that we have our contracts, and I'm sure we'll go through that. And so from the perspective of understanding what it takes to do an installation in a person's home, we're getting a great deal of information. What works, what's possible, what configurations, and the costs. The parallel track is the permitting. What is required in terms of getting a plumbing, permit, and what is going to happen through the Board of Health. And so the next step is going to be looking at which configurations, determining if any do not have product approval already, because a number of them are absolutely fully permittable and permitted from a plumbing perspective, and then bringing those, once they are able to be plumbed, according to regulations, to the Board of Health to go through that process. So that's where we stand. It's very exciting. There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of people all over town interested in taking the next steps, hopefully.
And I think you want to say that if people are just hearing about it now and are interested in getting on the list, it's open.
Plenty.
Still looking for volunteers until we get up to 62.
And we don't know how many of the 36
That's
that we're going to be,
right.
we don't know how many of those will go for it. Yes, we really have no idea at this point how many of them will go for it now, how many of them maybe go for it next year. We don't know that.
But at this time a year ago, we had 0.
I know, that's amazing.
It's,
And I do want to add that it has been incredibly useful to have the Eco-Toilet Center available. I've been there a couple of times. And people who are interested, in the same way that when you want to go look at a plumbing fixture, a standard fixture, you want to look at a tile to put in your house, it's very nice to be able to have people go and see the actual fixtures and the actual configuration. So it's been a very sort of useful, very useful to the process of getting people enrolled.
Should charge admission.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody who's been involved with this for being able to push it forward the way we have.
Yes, kudos to the advocates.
And the whole Eco-Toilet Center is going to move to hiatus this coming Sunday for 3 days.
Oh, we're bringing the whole thing down
For
there?
the conference?
Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
That's more.
Yeah.
Well.
more vendors are coming in, more different systems.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Have the vendors retained ownership? In other words, are these all on loan?
Yes, they're all on loan.
And then, okay,
This is just a laying out of the tasks that SIA is being tasked with between now and January 13th. Doesn't require a vote, but it's been worked out between SIA and Wynn and Matt and everybody else that has been pushing this, and it gives her a roadmap, at least as far as the eco toilet piece goes, for that time.
okay, I have two more things, very short, I hope. One of them I think I gave everyone a copy, if I can only find my own. Yes, if I can only find my own. Here it is. This came from an email which I believe was initiated by Steve Layton to Laurel Shader, who had been at the meeting where we introduced the toilets, and she came back with because she had indicated interest in knowing something more about what was going on, because she has a project. It's a project which is going to begin sometime next year, a project to look at pharmaceuticals and hormones in gray water and in septic systems and so forth. And in fact, in all places they can find them, but one of the places they want to look is in septic systems. And she's very interested in what the hormones, what will be in the gray water, and she's also interested in the levels of hormones and pharmaceuticals in the residuals from eco-toilets. And she would like us to participate in a project which they are working, they're preparing a letter of inquiry for the Massachusetts Environmental Trust for research that they want funded. And they're looking at a Falmouth pilot study which will explore the effectiveness of eco-toilets for also addressing emerging contaminants. It went in last week, but it can still be modified. She wanted to know if the Water Quality Management Committee would be interested in being listed as a project partner, and if we could use our eco-toilet project, if they could join with the eco-toilet project in the sampling process, so that they could learn more about the wastewater. They would like to do their own sampling. I have not talked yet with George about this. I was waiting until we came to this meeting to find out whether the Water Quality Management Committee wanted to pursue this with them. And I recommend that we do that.
Okay, I see a technical problem, which is the selectmen have made it quite clear that any application by anybody representing the town for grants or participating in grant applications, they want to know about it ahead of time, and they want to be the last one to say yes or no on that topic.
So is the procedure for us to say, yes, we would like this to go forward, and to bring it to the selectmen and say, will they be willing to support this?
I would guess, I'm not.
As you know, she contacted me by email, and I forwarded that to you. She wanted to know if she could speak to us tonight. Your answer was no, because we had already put in the agenda.
Right.
So we could invite her. I think it would be good to have her come and talk to us and answer questions like that. I think that would be helpful to all involved. There are some questions. I think Steve had some great questions. I just read in the passing emails, and I think she's agreeable to most of those restrictions.
Steve?
She spoke to my two questions, the confidentiality and who's this weird person on our property in addition to George. And I didn't mean that George is weird. This additional person on the property. And she spoke to those two perfectly, I think. And my only comment would be, if barring someone here having an objection to it, if there are a lot of other things to do at our meetings, why would you want to give her a lot of time? Why not just say, go ahead? Don't waste your time coming here. Your letter is great. I I mean, are you really going to ask her details of the sampling and things
Yeah.
like
Well,
that?
that's fine by me. It's valuable information. And so it would be good for us to have this study done, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Down the road, it's gonna weigh in.
And-
But if you feel confident enough to just say, go ahead, I'll vote for that.
There's two issues here. One is her study, and the other is our participation in her study. We understand what she wants to do, and that's sort of between her and George, as far as the practicality of that. But in terms of us being a participant in her application for funding, that's a whole different question, which, as I say, the selectmen would want to know about it, and it's a whole different conversation. I have no problem with the first one. If it's okay with George to have her piggyback on what he's doing, fine, but that's different than being a participant in her grant application.
I'm assuming that A, this is totally contingent on George approving it, and totally contingent on the selectmen approving it, and totally contingent on the fact that we have zero financial and legal responsibility.
Well, I don't think the selectmen would care if she were piggybacking on what George is doing. They would care if we were putting ourselves in her grant application.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's a relatively small part of it. We could say, you can do it, but you can't put us on your grant application.
Why do that now? I mean,
Just to
I
overcome
have no
Eric's
problem,
objection.
and if we hear what she has to say and everybody approves of that, we can make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
I've gotten confused on this in its entirety. We've got this eco toilet thing. That's being set up, and we're looking to collect data for the water quality management group. It's a very public process. Whomever the 62 people are to get money from the town, 62 property owners get money from the town, the 62 folks that get an abatement or whatever they get, there's a public record of that. It's not a blind thing. It's not like you don't know which person, if you want to go look up in the public records, got that. That's the way it works. If Silent Spring wants to do their own separate study, totally independent of anything we're doing, they can do anything they want with trying to keep information blind, private, or discreet. If we get involved with Silent Spring, and they are collecting information in any way, shape, or manner under our auspices, I'd want somebody to give a legal opinion as to whether or not you could maintain confidentiality of where you collected that data from against a request for public information.
Yeah.
The Board of Health has wrestled with this for over a year around issues, and maybe I'm oversensitized to it, but while this is all seems like a great opportunity to get more data in an area that's totally emergent, totally not well understood, and really is vital research to be done. We need to be very careful that we don't engage with, imply, or offer the illusion that there may be privacy when there may be none.
You raised a question which I had not thought of, because George Heufelter, in all of his work, you may know who the people are who have his systems installed and so forth, but he does not release any of the data on which system is sampled and what data goes with which system. In other words,
But it could get out. What I hear Steve saying is,
The data we're collecting is data that
somebody in this group of 62 who are here named is using substances that are well known as a treatment for AIDS.
or so, who knows?
Now you look at who lives there and you say, oh, it's got to be that guy.
could conceivably, yes.
And I'm not saying that somebody would want to do that. I'm just saying that you have to be careful. This is stuff in here about they're going to do things and make it all blind. I think as a private institute, they can go off and make those arrangements.
Right.
But we as the town have to be very careful, unless it's information being specifically collected around a person's, there's a very, very narrow exemption for gathering information from people in town that's not public information. People send an email and it's public information. Okay, so we're just putting that out there.
Yeah, Matt?
Well, just to pursue what Steve said, I'm sorry, Wynn said it. If George Heufelder at the Barnstable County Health Department can keep that information private, that's a government entity.
We're measuring nitrogen. So they probably can't. If somebody wanted to go down and say, I'd like to find out how much nitrogen, how much water or nitrogen was coming out of home 4, they may be able to make that request, yeah.
He doesn't release that information now.
It
You say,
doesn't make that information public.
Just as a thought, if, maybe the term partner is kind of weighty, okay? And it might be that if that is an issue over what you're talking about with regard to.
Well, I would ask town council how this plays out.
Check the town council, but if that's what, it could just be that we would say we'd be interested in seeing the results of their study. We would be a recipient for that. We wouldn't be a partner in the study, but we would be like anybody would be.
Yeah.
We would think it'd be interesting to know what the findings are and to consider them, but not as a partner in doing the study,
Right.
basically. If that helps, to an extent.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, I'm hearing the partner piece is off the table. The question is
Well, it depends.
what kind of research and how involved can they get without tripping over the public
right.
entity issues? She should talk to George.
Yeah.
yes, she should talk with George. yeah.
And we can tie, and to Frank Duffy maybe as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what, I will write her a talk with her and say that she should talk with George about the feasibility of doing this in conjunction with his.
Right.
And presumably I don't know at this point from what she says in this letter whether she's trying to get money to do the levels of hormones and pharmaceuticals and residuals. She seems to, in the residuals from EcoTox, she seems to be saying that's something she hopes somebody's going to do, but that she's not planning to do it. That she's planning to test for what is in the gray water. There's a difference between what's in the gray water, where they want to find out all of the things that are in the gray water, not just pharmaceuticals, but all the other things that might be there, and what is in the eco toilets. What is in the urine and the compost from eco toilets, which is a different question. And I believe she's going to look for somebody else to do that. The way she's phrased it, she's hoping somebody else is doing it.
Okay, Steve.
Well, it's a question for the Eco Toilet Subcommittee. Given that the list of 62 people will...
Eco-Toilet Task Force.
Task Force. Given that the list of 62 people will be public, I don't think there's any question of that. And given that if this went ahead, data on that as a group would surely be available.
Yeah, right.
Illicit drugs, drugs for embarrassing conditions, what have you. Do you see that as a deterrent for people entering your group of 62?
Interesting.
First of all, I don't
No.
think we have to make that the participants public. I don't think that's any requirement for that. If somebody files a Freedom of Information Act, if they want to know that.
We're talking about, in connection with the other thing, Steve was mentioning putting it on the deed, that they're exempt from the sewer charge.
That's,
Yeah, we're cutting a check for $5,000. Someone's going to know about that at the town level.
I'm just trying to protect your effort.
Virginia.
I have a somewhat different take, and that is, what I see here is mission creep. We've labored significantly to get to where we are, and the public expects, and they're agreeing in this document, to allow monthly sampling during reasonable hours, and it's been said it's the Barnstable County that's doing the sampling. So what I see is Silent Spring says, oh, this is a good way for us to sample something that we're interested in. And so they're sort of trying to piggyback onto this effort. I think it's important for us to stay focused about what we're trying to accomplish. And I think, although this may be a good idea from Silent Spring, it does really complicate the picture. So I just want to put that out there.
Virginia, are you thinking it complicates the picture if we become a project partner, or it complicates the picture of whether we become a partner?
There's no question that this committee can't become project partner.
Yeah. Obviously not, yeah.
The selectmen agreed that they would work with Barnstable County. They agreed that they would pay Barnstable County for the sampling. So you really have to go back to the selectmen and now say there's another entity that wants to walk onto the property with George and take samples for other research reasons. And, you know, they're going to have to deal with that.
Sure.
I have a motion. I think we should just direct her to speak to George at the Barnstable County Health Department.
That's a
If she
motion.
gets an approval there, then
Come back and see us
Come
again.
back to
Okay.
us,
Motion
okay.
made and
Okay.
seconded.
Yes.
Seconded.
Further discussion? All in favor?
I think that's a good solution.
Thank you.
Okay, the last one is just very quick. I didn't expect that to take this time. I don't think this will take the time. Where is it?
Chip Osborne Conference?
It's the,
Chip Osborne.
Yeah.
I have just one copy of it. It's Osborne Organics. I just want to make sure everyone knows, if they don't know already, that on Tuesday, October 30th, between 8 and 3 p.m. at Barnstable Town Hall, hearing room on the second floor, there's going to be a presentation to town people from any town on the Cape, as well as people from lawn care professionals, anyone who is interested in lawn care, turf care, and so forth, by Chip Osborne. I attended this, the same one last year, exactly the same thing a year ago.
What time?
What time?
Oh,
8 to 3.
8 to 3,
8 to 3.
October 30th. It's a little late, I guess, to actually join it. If you haven't already joined, October 12th was the deadline for pre-registration. So I don't know, we sent this around before then, and I think we all knew about it. So I'm going, I think, Sia, you're going, is that right?
Not on the 30th.
Not on the 30th, okay.
2 people from the Parks Department are going.
Great.
Right,
Falmouth
right.
DPW.
I was there a year ago. It's very good. There's an enormous amount of information to be gathered. I want to go hear it again. Chip Osborne is a dynamic speaker. It's really worth hearing what he has to say. Just wanted to make you aware of it, the fact that I'm going, the fact that we will bring people back.
Terrific.
And we did send it out so that you could have signed up if you'd wanted to. That's all I have to say about that.
Terrific. Virginia?
I want to talk about using organic fertilizers just as a general theme. I've been looking at Little Pond and Mara Vista and Falmouth Heights. There are a lot of properties that are right next to the water.
Yes.
And their entire lot, because they're all so small, is within the 100-foot. And so our fertilizer bylaw says no fertilizer within 100 feet of a water body. So basically, they would need to make a cultural change and not fertilize their lawns, or just use organic.
Yes.
Don't realize they don't need.
Well,
Chip, that's
I
exactly
completely
right.
agree with you.
Yes.
They don't need any. But the point is, lots of people think they do need some, and there's going to be a whole group of properties that will be affected by our proposed bylaw.
I think this is the...
So I was looking for an alternate answer, if you feel that you must.
Yeah.
Well, you want to amend our bylaw at this point?
No.
Oh.
I'm just saying that Chip Osborne has produced a program for his community where they don't have any commercial fertilizers. It's all organic.
Okay.
Well, even organics,
Well,
I don't think we want.
Chip Osborne, I see you talked with him at some length. I haven't yet passed around the thing. Have you passed that to all members of the committee, or?
I did send out an email to the committee, did everyone
Okay.
get it? A synopsis of my conversation with Chip
Oh,
on
yes.
that.
And the gist of that is, with respect to this particular point, that you do not, if you use compost,
Right, and you let the
And you-
grass clippings remain
and
on
you
the
let
lot.
the grass clippings remain on the lawn, if you do those two things, and if you do other things like aerating and so forth, you can have a very good quality lawn. You can't have the absolutely number one quality lawn that you would get on a green or something like that. But you get a very good quality lawn by doing that alone. And he also says in his, he didn't mention pesticides. He also argues that if you treat your lawn properly in that way, you have far less need of pesticides. far less, almost no need of pesticides.
Yeah, Ron?
Just as another point on this, the wetlands bylaw in town prohibits use of fertilizer.
Correct.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
already there,
Correct.
basically, as a factor within 100 feet.
I'm glad he brought up, it's kind of like a shout out for Chip, that he's got this thing and people should go to it. I went to it last year, it's fabulous. If you want to learn how to grow grass and have it look nice in your yard and not grow weeds, he knows how to do it. He's got pictures, he's got clients, he's got things that happen.
Is he a school chum of yours?
I've known the guy for years, he knows how to grow things,
Yeah.
okay? And so he knows how to grow grass, that without fertilizers and without putting pesticides on it, and, just teaches you how to grow grass instead of growing weeds.
Yes.
It's pretty straightforward stuff.
We've got a good lawn without using Kim lawn.
Okay, Steve?
Could Falmouth Community TV be encouraged, and would Chip Osborne allow for it to be videotaped and then put on FCTV? They have an archive, so it's like YouTube. I mean, you don't have to see it live, you could see it in March.
Okay.
We could ask Green Cape whether they're going to plan to have it taped.
Right, if somebody's filming it, could they,
Yeah, we could get a copy.
could
You
they
should
get
agree
it
it's an
down?
infomercial for him.
This is being sponsored by Green Cape, and all we need to do is ask Green Cape what they're doing.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Great.
And the second thing is, with respect to what Virginia said, it also should be kept in mind that those very lots are also by definition waterfront lots. And so those people will benefit most from having estuaries
Yes.
made better.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
Right,
Yeah,
they could put the two together.
Right, well, that's
they're motivated.
the point.
Just in fairness though, as much as you can find people that you think are fertilizing and should stop, if you drive through the neighborhoods, there are a lot of homes that look like they have very naturalized lawns and everything, so it's like a lot of other parts of town, different people with different
Right.
viewpoints.
Friendly lawn did have some effect.
But the premise of the MEP study, and they based this on a survey that they did back at the beginning, was that half the lawns did not fertilize at all.
Right.
And it was the other half that were the problem.
Exactly.
So we're starting with half being
Right,
compliance
but
already.
just to keep everything in mind, getting rid of all the fertilizer takes a fraction out, there's still a long ways to go after that, but it's a start, every bit helps.
Hey, we're going after
Everybody
all the
helps.
fractions.
Every bit helps.
We're going after all.
That's right.
Which brings me to an idea that I may or may not pull off here, but I have a Zodiac with a small outboard, and I want to get it into Little Pond before it gets cold, and it'll hold about 3 or 4 people, and it might be fun to take a waterside tour of Little Pond, and if I can get this thing in the water before it gets cold, I'll let you know when, and you're welcome to do that. Because I think we learned a lot from our waterfront tour of the other water bodies, and this one we couldn't get into. So you'll be notified upon the launching. Another housekeeping piece before we move on to the correspondence and
No, we have
minutes.
the report.
Of members and staff? Okay. Let me just do the housekeeping one, which is this. SIA has been taking on a lot of projects and taking up more time than we thought it was going to because she's taken up more projects. One in particular that seems like it could revert back to us, and I have an idea of somebody who might want to do it, is the innovative
An alternative
and alternative
septic system.
septic systems that you've been looking at what George is doing and what the rest of the world is doing, and I think if somebody else wanted to pick up the ball from her and carry that one forward, it would be helpful. Any ideas you might want to do that?
No, I mean, I've looked into various systems, so I have a little bit, but I can see it, we can talk and see exactly how I might be able to help out with that. It's not,
Yeah.
it's an area.
Yeah, she has a lot, especially these next couple of months, she's going to have a lot on her plate that has deadlines. And this one will tend to get shoved to the back, and it shouldn't, but it will.
I think it's something that, as we said, is something to look at we have 1,500 systems on the Cape. And so it's something to find out from George, just to
I
know
have
the
done
kind
that.
of information,
You
yeah.
and I can talk.
We can talk about that, okay.
Yeah, if you two could coordinate and.
Right, because it's even, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, even like with the solar bees, Mashpee's doing a demonstration, so we can learn from them, basically, so that's that kind of thing.
There's also a huge overlap between that task and the Oyster Pond RFP.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it can come out of that money if you,
Well, he's not spending money yet.
Yeah.
no, I mean, that firm, whoever wins it, essentially has to do something awfully close to that.
Right.
So you can task them with looking at IA systems.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're
They
finding
will
the more we can do in-house, the better, but it can't all be Sia.
Right.
She's carrying about 15 balls already, and
She's doing a great
she's
job.
doing a great
She
job.
certainly is.
Absolutely. Okay, report of members and staff. Any that haven't been addressed yet? Ron?
Yeah, I went to a water conference at Harvard last Friday, and it was, the title of the conference was Cloudy with a Chance of Solutions, the Future of Water. And it was kind of like Water 101, okay? It looked at, the topics it looked at were from desalination to algae recovery, cost of, and valuing water, environmental pollutants or contaminants, and then looking at the whole picture, kind of a broad view by someone from the I think the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and university, and so is it this kind of thing. But there were a couple of talks that were interesting, related to specifically even getting back to this topic of what Silent Spring has been discussing, and that concerned contaminants. And one of them that was striking, but not so cogent to what we're doing, although the second one that I'll mention is, and that has to do with bisphenol A, which is in many of the plastic bottles. And it has, and so what's happened is that the problem with that, which affects the reproductive system of you, your children, and your grandchildren from the grandparent of drinking this, it goes right through to that, according to Patricia Hunt, who's done all the research, a lot of research on this. But what's happened now is that a lot of the companies have said, oh, wow, that's terrible. So they've stopped, and you can find bottles that say no BPA or BPA free now. Okay, BPA, so what they've done is they've taken the methanide ion, which is CH3, and replaced it now with fluoride, with F. And we have no idea what the toxicity of that is. That's bisphenol something else, but the thing is...
We'll find out in a few years.
Right. So it's like, they said we can't keep up. Because they'll say, oh, okay, and then they'll change it, and then you have something else. So, and all of this ends up, again, a lot of it will end up in the wastewater.
It's the use of liner and cans too.
Right, liner and can, exactly. So it's in a lot of things. But it's also in, those receipts that you get at the gas pump.
Yeah. Oh, all of them.
Yeah. When when it says don't accept a receipt because it gets on your fingers and it actually gets in. So it's even in that kind of thing. So it's in the ink or whatever it is that comes with that. So that was an interesting, shocking talk, but interesting one. The other one was by a fellow by the name of Charles Tyler from the Exeter University in the UK, and he's been looking at endocrine disruptor chemicals and other emerging contaminants in wastewater and the environment. And he said that 80% in the UK of endocrine disruptors that enter the environment come through sewage effluent point, okay, basically, 80%. And that this is having an impact on the sex of fish and other things. It's having a large impact, basically. And following up on this talk a little bit, so this is something that by concentrating it in an area or dumping it, it ends up in rivers after it's been treated. Some of these chemicals are still present in the effluent. There are some methods that can remove some of them, but not all of them. And so therefore, it's an issue of you can look him up online, Charles Tyler at University of Exeter, and so he was. He's a reproductive physiologist and ecotoxicologist. But the thing is that these are factors. I think Jerry's talked about the fact that by having it, that there can be some things done to reduce or I haven't seen anything that eliminates this issue from effluents. But this is something I think that is, in terms of water quality management, it's something we need to really delve into and possibly get response from our engineering team to find out to what extent this kind of thing can be controlled. Because by concentrating it in one area, one stream, one watershed, it could be an issue. So, but that was another a talk that was, pretty much close to what we're considering with regard to environmental management and effluent. And I asked him, I said, do you have any knowledge about what composting would do to? He said he didn't know, but it was a good thought anyway. But this is part of what's, again, coming back to Silent Spring, it's coming back to that kind of thing of how to manage these things. And so it was a very good day. A lot of the talks, some of the talks were well, I had some questions, but some of these were really very close to what we're concerned with.
Thank you. Steve?
Did he say anything about that 80% that comes?
Yeah.
How much is in the gray water and how much is in the human excrement?
No, he just said it was in the, he didn't look into that. It was the treated sewage effluent that they were looking at. And he didn't, so that's a mix of everything, right? So it isn't like...
But I just, that's what Laurel Shader is interested in.
Okay. Well,
And it could be very controversial. You have to think about it a while to realize where the controversy comes out, right? Because if it's all in the gray water, the eco toilets don't take care of it.
No, they,
Right.
But if it's in the human excrement, they do.
well, it's a lot of it is pharmaceutical.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I mean,
Mr. Chairman,
Hilda's a big
if I might-
company.
Steve and then Hilda.
With all due respect, this committee was put together to look at things that SMAS identified are issues in the estuaries. That's what our task is. And I'm willing to go to a coffee shop and sit with anybody on this board and talk about compounds and concerns and share information and talk about different literature researches and stuff. But I think this committee's got enough on their plate right now dealing with nitrogen and bacteria and that stuff without continuing to expand our focus into the compounds and concerns. I think that's, and until we get tasked to do that, I would suggest that we should all consider whether or not we're talking about stuff that is beyond the purvey of this committee.
I just
Or purview, whatever the right word is.
As a report of a member, that's fine. He's not asking for any action to be taken.
I didn't, there's no motion on the floor
And
here.
we won't be taking any.
Yeah, no, right, no, I'm not asking, yeah.
So, any other reports of possibly less controversy?
I think Hilda wanted to say something.
Hilda, come on. Not previously having been heard.
Not to go into, but I talked to Nick Ashbold a while ago about this Silent Spring project. This is from the EPA, they're very interested in this work because so little is known. And his thought was of spiking some of the composting toilets with a certain pharmaceutical so that they have a controlled amount going in and then testing it, because like most compost, it takes 4 years before it's mature, and see over the
Right.
years what it does and see if there's any left at the end of 4 years. So that is their plan, which is a much more controlled one than just getting a lot of households which might have hundreds of different pharmaceuticals. And that's not what they can do because it's too expensive. So that never has been part of that program that she's suggesting. Because I've talked to her about this already for a couple of years. She's definitely interested in it, but not, as she cannot test 500 different pharmaceuticals. And then spiking it on top of that would be really helpful. And it's extremely important. So if we can be of any help at all, even if she can approach some of the homeowners to see if they would be willing to have their system spiked with a certain pharmaceutical and follow it over the next 5 years. It would be extremely important research that's not known anywhere.
So she should talk to you too, as well as George.
Yeah,
Good.
she'll be at the conference on Monday and Tuesday,
Great.
and so will be Chip Osborne, and so will be the EPA Nick Ashton.
Any other report from members?
Just before Hilda goes, I just want to confirm, I think that those large composting bins that come from Canada,
Yeah.
aren't they used to break down
Pharmaceuticals.
compost pharmaceuticals and animals,
Yeah.
dead animals.
Yeah.
Some anyway, yeah.
And they do a good job at that, or,
Anyone that they have traced going in, they haven't found back at the end. Now, I haven't seen the list of the ones that they have been able to trace, but they've used them now. They're using them now for pharmaceutical companies that have to get rid of their animals. So
They
they
test
know
animals.
exactly what's in those animals. So that's a really nice controlled one, and if they can't find it at the other end, then at least they know that those pharmaceuticals are broken down in a composting environment.
Good, thank you very much. Any other reports from committee members or committee staff?
Can I just pass around, this is the flyer,
Except it'll be yellow.
except for it'll be yellow.
Okay.
I just got one from the printer because I couldn't bear the thought that I hadn't seen it before they stuck it in the water bill. So they mailed me one and I just wanted to
Oh, good.
pass it around.
Terrific.
I think the font is good.
May I mention something connected with that?
Sure.
Brent Runyon called just the other day and said that he would like to be able to publicize the fact that they were doing this, and we
Feel free.
got permission to give it out, and
He could print this right in the paper if he wants, right?
could be, I suppose, I don't know.
If he wants.
Yeah, well, he has one.
We
We have it
have-
electronically.
He gave you one, right? You got it, okay.
Yeah, I didn't put it through as a image just because I,
Yeah, I wondered how that would come out, but yeah.
Anyway, we'll
I'm
be,
just making sure
Turn it
it's
on.
okay with the
No, I saw it.
committee.
He did.
for you to have that
I got
option.
both sides, okay.
Good.
yeah, I asked Eric, and he said fine, yes.
Fine, it's public information, it's a public document, take it away. Any other reports from committee or staff? If not, the motion to consider the minutes of the prior meeting and,
Actually, there's two quick things. Virginia, did you send an email around about a joint meeting of the planning board?
yeah, that's
Yes.
not for us.
It's not.
It's not us.
Attendance.
Okay.
It's just that they're going to be discussing master plan that involves the sewer and ecological
Okay.
element. And I'm sorry, I'm having a blank. There was something else that's also seemed,
We could go and observe.
yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Or you could watch it on television.
Or I can watch it on television.
That's right.
There you go.
One last item,
Yes.
which is,
Where's that meeting?
I did speak at the Board of Health about perhaps at some point in time having a joint meeting between the two boards, between the Board of Health and our board some evening.
And
You know,
when's that going to
I just said, at some point in the future, during the winter, whatever,
Yeah.
because as these things happen and interface back a little more,
We should.
and then my thought was when we did that we'd have Amy provide a presentation on the wastewater plant and well as well the groundwater monitoring results over time. So she wouldn't have to come and explain that over time to both boards about what's happening with the groundwater monitoring from the existing plant. She sent some nice graphs showing some long-term trends and whatnot.
Terrific.
Because ultimately, some of that stuff will roll into the West Falmouth permeable reactive barrier issue, et cetera, and things that are going on. So it might be a beneficial meeting at some point in
So you're
time.
going to let us know when it occurs?
Yeah, I'm throwing out there, I haven't picked the date, but it's
Definitely.
there's like an election coming up, and then after the election, there's town meeting, then there's
Yeah,
probably
it
something on the
won't be
Board of Health.
November. All right, the minutes were distributed. Did anybody have any additions or corrections?
No.
If not, a motion to accept them would be gratefully appreciated.
So moved.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And I don't think I can vote because I wasn't at the last
You were
meeting.
not. Okay, motion to adjourn, equally moved.
Right, there you go.
Hilda,
This might have come up, but I'm not sure because I wasn't here in the beginning. Just want to announce the conference that's happening this week.
October 22nd and 23rd?
Yeah,
If
did I
that-
mention?
Been mentioned, everybody got the invitation?
Okay,
Yeah.
open to the public, to the public.
Yep, everybody knows.
Great.
Motion to adjourn, made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you very much.